I am here at the Royal Canadian Military Institute, RCMI, where we have the honored guest, the author of the book, Andrea Charron and James Fergusson. Sir, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, madam. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
What do you say about the idea behind of this book, NORAD?
Well, James and I have been studying the Canadian and U.S. militaries and specifically the North American Aerospace Defense Command for more than 10 years now. And so this book is sort of a culmination of all of that research, reflecting on how NORAD has evolved and what it may be tackling in the future.
So what is the driving force behind the book?
Twofold.
Okay.
One, NORAD is not well understood or well known in Canada as well as the United States. So one of it is to provide sort of a primer for the public as well as government officials to understand what NORAD is and what it is not. The second is we are in the beginning of a major investment process to modernize NORAD. This has significant implications for NORAD's future missions it may take on, the future of our relationship with the United States in cooperating in the defense of North America. So it's about what it is and where it's going.
Well, I'll relate it to the title of the book. In 2006, this binational agreement between Canada and the U.S. was signed in perpetuity, which meant that rather than having a renewal of the agreement every 5 years, it was decided that the agreement was set. And so the beyond part is now that we have 65 years of NORAD, this May 12th, 2023 will be the 65th anniversary. What might the next 65 years bring for this really important command?
What is the central idea, how it can help the readers?
Well, I think what we do is look at the more recent history of NORAD, beginning with 9/11. And of course, NORAD was front and center when it came to the 9/11 attacks. But then how did it adapt and change, including getting a new mission, its third mission, the Maritime Warning? And then what, with the new technology we have, a new geopolitical environment, how should NORAD adapt and change to deal with these new threats to North America?
So same question to you.
Basically the same answer, but what it also serves to do is raise the issues that confront the NORAD relationship in particular, but also the Canada-U.S. defense relationship in North America. There are a lot of issues besides modernizing its capabilities, its technology relative to the threat environment that's emerged in the last decade. These include how should the relationship evolve? It can't stand pat anymore. So we try to push the envelope, providing ideas or recommendations where we think the organization is going to go.
It is not easy. You can write the book. People are facing a lot of challenges, a lot of things behind in the front. So did you face any kind of challenges, both of you?
Well, the greatest thing about having a co-author like James Fergusson is we have strengths in different areas, and because we've been engaged in the research together for more than a decade now, we have each other to draw on and ideas that we can bounce off of each other. I must say too, we've had unprecedented access to the NORAD command teams, and that's not to say that we aren't sometimes critical, but we're always amazed that the militaries are ready to listen to our ideas, help us understand their challenges. And so it really is, this book may have my name and James on the front, but it really is a reflection of the many hundreds of people whom we've interacted with and interviewed. And of course our students were very involved in this to do a lot of the background research and to understand the process of putting research into a book.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest challenge from when we started is we both know what NORAD was, but we really hadn't explored it. So trying to create and understand accurately the structure, the processes within a very complicated command structure, the relationship of the governments in Ottawa and Washington to that structure, and then of course the relationship of the military to their political masters in both countries. And then of course dealing with military acronyms. That's always a challenge. So those were the big challenges we had to, and that takes time to get over them and start to feel at home. So we could talk the same language as them.
One book, two authors. how it's made possible, both of you?
Well, we did it together. We've written 3 reports on NORAD, and we always took a different aspect of either the NORAD mission or a challenge they were facing. And so this book is really sort of a culmination of the research that we explored there. And so it really was a joint decision that we really need a book like this. And we're very fortunate that we were able to build on the work by 2 other authors on NORAD, Richard Gowett, who explored, well, how did NORAD come to be? And then Joseph Jockle, who looked at from the start of NORAD operationally in 1957 until it received its new mission. We keep going from there. So now that in 2006, with the new mission and the agreement signed in perpetuity, and quite unprecedented geopolitical events that have happened since then, we take then the story further.
Yeah, in some ways, it's a product of a division of labor. As Andrea mentioned, we both have different strengths within the complicated world of NORAD and Canada-U.S. defense relations. We have different sort of focus of interest. So as we went along doing all these 3 reports, we wrote several articles together, and then we got to this, was we sort of would take up, each of us would take a part and draft it. And then here's the part, back to me, and we'd play with it. And that way we slowly integrated it all together and found out most times we were just simply on the same wavelength anyways.
So the NORAD is the first book, is a joint venture, both of you, or you already done before?
Both published other books, but this is the first time we've published a book together. And I think it's because NORAD is a very complicated command. It takes a long time to really appreciate all the different challenges it has, the objectives, the changing circumstances in which it works. And so it took us until now to put the book together.
Maybe your question is, what's coming next? And that remains to be seen. Because after you finish the book, you finally you sort of get into a moment of, okay, let's pause for now, take a breath, and now we'll see. But we'll probably move down the road to talk more about the Canada-U.S. defense relationship as a whole.
Okay. So book, now today is the launching ceremony of this book, yeah? I think so. Yes. So what is the targeted audience?
Well, it's threefold. I mean, first and foremost, we want, as James mentioned, we want the public to understand what NORAD is, and beyond the Santa Tracker, which it's most famously known for. Because it is the primary defense for North America, it's important that Canadians and Americans understand what it is and what it does. The second audience was for our students. They were instrumental in helping us write it, but also they're the next generation that may become future defense policy analysts, may become part of the military, may work for NORAD. And then the third one is for personnel working in NORAD, to give them a primer of sorts, to provide them a little bit of background on some of the history. We certainly can't tell them how to do the job. They're highly skilled and trained, but to give them some of the background and maybe some of the political context for some of the decisions around NORAD.
And hopefully for the government officials, political elites in this country, as well as in the United States, who also many times we fear, we sort of got thinking that they didn't really understand NORAD either. So hopefully it's a wide breadth of the Canadian political and public world. And I would add one other thing, if I could be a little flippant, to cause some trouble, to raise issues which don't get raised in the public domain from a lot of the actors for political reasons. They're limited by policy and government things. We can do that, and that's sort of one of the big thrusts. We're going to say things which need to be said. Whether they're adopted, our ideas or not, that's not our decision. But just to bring them out in the open, so we can have down the road, as more funding is sent into NORAD modernization in particular, so when debates hit the public and the political world, they can be learned debates rather than foolish, naive, emotional debates.
So the word is NORAD.
So it started as the North American Air Defense Command, and that was the realization by the US and Canadian military that adversaries wouldn't necessarily respect borders between Canada and the US. So if they wanted to attack one of us, they're in a sense attacking both of us and probably going through the other's airspace to get to us. And so they created this binational aerospace organization to be able to watch for any potential air threats and have a plan of how they would defeat them if need be. It then became an aerospace defense command, reflective of the fact that technology was changing. We now had ballistic missiles that weren't staying in that quote-unquote airspace. They were actually going above the airspace. And so we needed the technology and the abilities to track and possibly defeat that as well. And now it has a new mission, a maritime warning mission. So the punchline of the book for James and I is that we think in time, it makes sense that we have a North American Defense Command that includes not just air and maritime warning, but also cyber, land, space, all of the domains, because again, adversaries are not necessarily going to stick to defined domains or defined state borders.
Yep, she's got it. Yep, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for the great authors. Best of luck, both of you.
It's on Amazon, McGill Queen's University Press, most local bookstores.
Thank you so much. The Charron and Fergusson is a very well-known authors, and we have a great honor. We sit together. So thank you so much, viewers.